Everyone, another episode of Topshelfers Podcast. I'm Wes McBee, and today we are sponsored by Monarch Social. We all know in business the most important thing is lead generation, and why not hire experts in lead generation? Monarch Social will take your stagnant business to one that is getting so many leads you don't even know what to do with. If you're interested in that and you want to hear more information, head over to monarchsocialbrand.com. Dark Prime Collectibles. Guys, if you've been kind of bummed out you aren't able to play Magic the Gathering or Dungeons & Dragons with your friends in store, they are doing a soft relaunch of in-store play at the end of this month. And there's no better place to go than Dark Prime Collectibles. They're very welcoming. They'll teach you all about the games you want to know, and they have tons and tons of different products you can get right in. I personally went up there and started learning how to play Magic the Gathering, the Commander Edition. They got me a deck. It was $30 and I was competing with people there, and it was a lot of fun. Head over to their website, darkprimecollectibles.com, or if you are in Utah, it's local, 354 State Street, Clearfield, Utah is their store. And last but not least, Happiest. It's the number one place to go for premium CBD that won't break the bank. It is locally owned and sourced here in Utah, and it is safe for work, meaning no THC. They have something for everyone, I promise you that. You can head over to happiestmed.com. That is HEPIUSMED.com. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring. Well, tonight's going to be a fun episode because I have a brand new guest on, and that is Summer.
Hello.
We've been talking about doing this for a little while, and last time we had something planned, I had to reschedule it because I'm bad at scheduling things.
No, it's because you got strep.
Was
the
that
first
because of
time? It was
strep?
because you got strep.
Good old strep. I thought I had the COVIDs, and then it was just.
Strep's not much better.
No, well, and the thing is, like, I've had such a weird history with it. I used to get strep every year, all the way from like first grade up until junior high. And they're like, well, we should just take your tonsils out. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then for whatever reason, I never got the surgery, and then didn't get it for like 10 years, 10 years. And now I've gotten it twice in 2 years, and it is miserable as an adult.
Yeah.
It is not
And
fun.
they still didn't take them out?
Nope, still have them. I guess the surgery's worse as an adult.
Yeah, I had a friend who got it like this month, and he said that it was miserable. Like he couldn't talk or swallow. So
Ugh.
doesn't sound fun, but definitely like our bodies as children are made to bounce back, considering we're like basically rubber.
Yeah, you're made to recover from really weird things super fast. Like I have a cousin who, I can't remember, he broke something like a really big bone in his body. I can't remember if it was like it's the one that's in your thigh, fibula,
Your
femur, yeah, something like that.
Whoa.
And like
No.
adult wise, like you could be out for like a year plus trying to recover, plus everything. He was fine after like 6 months.
Yeah, that's
He was good to go. He was running around being a kid again.
age, man.
Age.
It's not on our side.
Getting older is just a super weird thing. You know, I keep thinking like, oh, I'm like not getting that much older, and then like I see something. What gets me is the TikToks where it's like
I knew you were gonna say that.
they're like, guess what turns 20 years old today? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And it's like Halo 2, and I'm like, oh my god.
What?
I remember
Or like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
That one. Scooby-Doo comes back.
I remember the release date of Halo 2. I was there.
Wow.
And
Yikes.
I have like 5 gray hairs, and I just don't even know what to do with myself anymore. Death.
It's fine.
Death is approaching. No, so I think it's interesting how we know each other, because you're the first person that I've had on the podcast that I met through online, aside from like Twitch itself. Like I've had a couple guests that I've met through Twitch, but we met through World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Some classic old gaming, which I don't know. I'm kind of curious your opinion on gaming just as a whole nowadays, because I remember like growing up, it was very, you know, if you were a gamer, you were more rare. Like there really wasn't a lot of people who were gamers.
Mm-hmm.
And now I mean, we raided with 40 people who are all, playing the
I think
same
we
exact
were just
game.
all closet gamers. We were all gamers. We were just all in the closet about it.
I think you're right, and I think that since it is super mainstream now, it's like okay to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go home and play games for 3 hours.
It still depends, though, I feel like. And I think certain games are like, I don't know, different people will see different games as like, I feel like different tiers almost. Like, WoW, World of Warcraft is a very intense, time consuming game, which is part of why I've been struggling so much to get back into it. Like, I don't know how you guys have you leveled a character literally from 1.
Yeah.
I don't know how you motivated yourself to do that. I can't even motivate. I can't even get myself to go from 60 to 70. I'm like, ugh. I've been paying for my subscription this whole time. I didn't cancel it ever.
I'll be honest with you, like it has taken an impact already. And what I mean by that is like, for those of you who don't know what WoW is, we'll do a little bit of WoW talk and then we'll get off the gaming stuff. But it's like an online game where you level up and then you play with people, all that jazz. And it is a time sink. Like if you
Yeah, I mean, other than just leveling, you have to like farm materials. Like it's weekly. Like if you go on raids, there are things that you have to go get weekly. So you're spending like all that time every week, and like that just murdered me. Like at least during Nax, like it was doable, a little bit, or not Nax. Oh man,
AQ,
I'm thinking of AQ.
Yeah.
AQ 40. AQ 40 was doable because it was like I could go get some demonic runes and I could just farm that. And even that sucked though because there's so much competition on our server because there were so many people.
Yeah.
And I mean, that should be at least something that most people are familiar with, just like server populations. Like when Among Us came out, or not when it came out, but like after, I don't even know who posted it, and then it went viral. But when that happened, it just broke.
Yeah.
Amazon Among Us broke.
Yeah, you couldn't even play it.
Yeah, like every time I would go on there, it was just like it wouldn't work. I just couldn't connect to anything. But
I really look at WoW as one of those things, like if you want to be a top performer or you want to be the best on your server, you are dedicating like a part-time or close to second full-time job if you
It's
don't
full-time.
already have a full-time job.
It's full-time. Like there are people, like the people that level up the fastest. I mean, most of those people are like streamers or people that are actually famous like anyway, so they are getting paid for that.
Sure.
But then there's just like the lowly people like us that are just like, except I haven't been, but like there's just the sweaty gamers who do it for the love of the game.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean,
it is full-time. Like, I mean, multiple people in our guild took time off of work.
Yeah.
To me, that is crazy.
I think part of it too is there's something about WoW. I mean, I've played the game since it came out as a kid and all the way through.
I did a little too.
You
didn't get to Nax though, right?
No. Someone commented, "Who would take time off work?" ... I wonder.
Who commented?
Tiny Rick.
Okay, Tiny Rick, because there's a certain user that if they commented, I know they did it.
I've always looked at WoW as one of those things like someone said I'm still waiting for my 250 gold.
I guess I should. I'm going to pull up the stream so I can see what people are saying.
I can't remember who Tiny Rick is, to be honest with you. I think for me, WoW is one of those things where I know that I am proficient in the game, so it's nice to log on and be able to do things with people. I think that I was talking to someone the other day, if our guild didn't reform, I don't think I would have came back.
No, and like if our guild didn't reform, I wouldn't still be struggling with the fact that I like I want to motivate myself, but I I haven't been like watching every tutorial that comes out since the beginning of time. So
Yeah.
I rely on like my boyfriend. I rely on him to help me out with like some of the stuff that like happens. I don't know.
Well,
But
yeah, and I think too, it's one of those things where, um, someone said, "Show her the mace you got last night. That will make
did you
her
get a
come."
mace?
Yeah, I got a mace. It's real cool.
So it's okay. Tiny Brick is obviously someone in the guild. Who's
Oh
Tiny
yeah,
Brick?
for sure. It's
It has to be someone in the guild.
it's got to be Gallister or Thunder, I think. I can't remember. I might be wrong though. Yeah, I can't remember who Tiny Brick was.
Maybe.
But for me, the game is a lot of, it's just social. You know, I could come home and
It is.
I play with people who I would 100% consider to be friends at this point because we've been playing for so long, and it's fun to just.
Hey, that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun to just kind of hang out. And it's like it's convenient, meaning like it's convenient to hang out because we can all just get on Discord and shoot the shit while we're playing some game that's 15 years old.
Right. Yeah.
Biebert says, "Wow,
I mean, it
heck."
is. Yeah, I saw. I was gonna reply while you were talking, but I mean, my boyfriend did help me out with like some. He didn't like. I don't know. I wouldn't say he did everything for me, but like, I wouldn't say I wasn't dedicated to the game. Like, I was dedicated enough that when our guild didn't have like a spot for a hunter in the they didn't have a spot for a hunter in the core rating group, like I re-rolled, like I re-leveled, and like for some people that's enjoyable, but for me it was like I didn't necessarily have people to level with. Like my boyfriend, I'm gonna keep referring to him as that because I don't know that he necessarily wants to be named on here. But he like he had a character that he like leveled with me some too, and like he had a mage, so he could help me with some of the boosts that were happening on our server. And I mean that worked out for him too because like he earned gold and all of that.
Sure.
But Papa called him out. Oh,
Jake. Oh, Tiny Rick must be Hackle then. That's right. Because I don't. Unless it's.
Did you have a bet with Hackle?
Unless it's
okay, I'm
Aldous.
out. They're killing me.
It's either Aldous or Hackle, I think.
I don't think it's Aldous.
He's watched a couple times.
Yeah, but I don't think it is. I think he has a different user.
Yeah. The grind is one of those things where like the first time you do it in WoW, it can be, they owe us 250 gold. They do in fact owe us 250 gold. It can be a lot of fun the first time around, but it is a grind for a reason. Like, you know, and this is where I kind of like WoW gets difficult for me, like time wise, right? Is if you were to level from 1 to 60 in Classic by yourself, you're looking at.
It would take so long.
I think minimum people say 120
I did.
hours.
On my first character, I did it.
Yeah.
From beginning to end. Just like with, like I didn't get any boosts on my hunter at all.
Yeah, same with my mage.
But like around the time that I started re-rolling, that's when like the boosts got really popular and mages were just shelling them out. Like the looking for group chat was just boosts. And
right. It was like candy. You could get them for like 3 gold at that time. But no, it's like it's 150. No, they're like 30 gold. It's 150 plus hours to level a character. And if you think about that in like other games, like you could potentially play 2 full released titles. Like you could play 2 full games in the time it would take you to level 1 character. So it's like, I don't blame the people who like don't want to fucking grind. And now 60 to 70, way longer than I thought it was going to be. Way longer than I thought it was going to be. I was honestly expecting us to get level 70 within the first like 3 days. I was severely underestimating how long
mistaken.
it was going to take.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I did like see you guys leveling a lot, and then I was like bummed that I didn't do it, but I didn't take off that day that all of you like started.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
because yeah.
the nice part about where the game's at right now is like even if you were to casually level to 70 over the course of the next 2 months, like we're not going to be you're not going to be behind. And what I mean by that is
Right.
like you'll be able to jump into Kara and get all your gear and be ready. Like it's
Yeah, I wasn't sure because like I know there's like all the stuff with the different rep, and I haven't been researching or keeping up with all of that. Like I didn't play TBC when it originally came out. Like I played a little bit of WoW when it originally came out, but like I never raided or any of that. Like it was purely solo questing.
no, it's definitely a lot less of, at least so far it seems a lot less of how do I say, like it's not like Nax farming. Like I went and bought some potions for Kara and then that was all I really bought. Like and we cleared it in
That's good.
one night. Like it didn't feel like this super intense like
Buying a million flasks.
yeah, I didn't need to spend 40 hours to prepare to go raid like you had to with like Nax and stuff. So but I don't know. It's
Nax was rough.
yeah, that's I didn't do it. I didn't think that I was going to be able to find anyone to raid with as a mage, and I just kind of was like, well, I got what I wanted out of Classic.
I didn't love the guild that I ended up in. They were like, the thing about joking about being sexist is like you do it so much it's no longer a joke, and that's what everyone in this guild was like. And like there were a few female people in that guild, and they chased out one because they were so mean to her. Like there were multiple girls that they just chased out of the guild because they were so mean to them. Like, and I don't know, like they just every time that we raided, they made a point of just like roasting the girls if they did one tiny thing or like anything. They were just like super focused in on making sure they knew if we made a mistake, but less so on everybody else.
Yeah, that's pretty whack. I mean, that just isn't a fun environment to raid in.
Yeah, and so I stopped raiding and playing WoW altogether because that was the guild that my boyfriend was in, and I didn't really feel like finding another guild and raiding on different days. Like that didn't sound fun to me.
No.
And I don't know, I was just also like, even when Fallen, like when we stopped, like I was getting pretty burnt out near the end too, even with that guild. And then I took like a break for like a month, and then Nax came out and I started with another guild, and I did that for a while. Like I did it till like until I like got, I don't think I got any, I don't remember if I got any gear while we were doing Nax, honestly. I can't remember. But like all of my armor is still from AQ40. And I hate that gear. It looks dumb.
Yeah, it looks really bad.
Some people think it looks cool. Like Thunder likes it. He thought it was cool. I don't know. I just didn't like it.
I like the stuff from Blackwing. I thought that stuff looked cool.
Yeah, I liked tier 1 and 2. They both, at least for shamans, I liked both. And on my hunter, I liked both of them for my hunter too. Like the full sets looked really cool. But I don't know, the 2.5 gear just like, to me it made me think of like Attack on Titan, because it just looks like you're just a muscle man,
right?
It's just your muscles.
Hey, the nice thing about the classes that you play though is you're completely sought after in Burning Crusade right now. You're shaman and hunter.
That is true. That is true.
You're either the
but like they're not just looking for those classes though, they're looking for people who are skilled at those classes, which like I was good at those classes. Like I was a good healer, but I'm super rusty because I haven't been playing while everyone else has been like raiding and stuff. Like I was gonna go to AQ 20 that day, and I dropped out so that you could go because I was so scared.
Oh, that was so stressful.
I was so afraid that I was going to make a fool of myself.
I was in greens and blues, and I did no service to anybody that night.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true.
It was...
I mean, to be fair, because you're playing a druid, though. Shamans like, you need shamans for AQ 20 because of just all the poison damage that people are taking. And that's like the main thing. It's just the cure poison.
I wish I would have played a shaman because of how ridiculously strong they are now. They're just Tiny Rick says you just
True facts, Tiny Rick.
let them
True
die
facts.
And then blame them for dying. That's actually the move. Why'd you die?
It's not, though, because like no matter what happens, if they die, they will always blame the healers. Like, I don't know if my boyfriend's listening right now, but I'm calling you out right now. If you are,
damn, Jake.
because Jake, calling you out, because he was originally a priest, and now he's playing a druid. But like, when I got home today, I came in while he was like playing, and he like died in a dungeon he was running with people. And he goes, "Oh, they didn't heal me." And I'm just like, you'd be so mad if someone said that when you were a priest.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
Yeah.
Love it. No,
Accurate.
it's I definitely think that aside from a couple things with Burning Crusade, it's a lot less, or it's a lot more casual friendly, meaning like we could take anyone in Kara and we're going to be able to clear. You know, I think that we're going to be able to do the 25 mans pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that it's not 40 people. Trying to find 40 people that commit to the same schedule is really hard. Like, even the people that do commit, like, to being a core raider, like, even when I did, like, I was there almost every single time when we were doing 40-man raids, but it just, like, it's really grueling. And, like, when there's 25 people, like, not everyone has to go every single week. You can kind of like rotate a little bit, but there are some people who like really enjoy raiding every single time, and or that are really motivated by getting gear.
I definitely think the problem with
it is, but
I think the biggest problem with the 40-man too is the fact that like there's no way that there won't be people who clash just because of personalities. But and like, even though we're playing a video game and it's supposed to be fun, like, you know, people will either have bad days or people will be frustrated by one person and will grow and grow and grow to a boiling point, which is kind of what happened with our guild, which is fine. Like,
that is part of why things like fell apart, was there were people that were having trouble getting along. And the people that were currently acting as like our stand-in guild master, they didn't want to be guild masters. They just wanted to enjoy the game, and they didn't even like a PvP server, which is why they left our server.
Right.
But it was just a bummer because like they were really nice people and I really enjoyed raiding with them, but because people just couldn't get along, like it literally, I remember when it happened. I remember it was during one of our dueling tournaments. Like, people just freaking lost their minds.
Oh, I don't even remember that. I think the problem I was having is I was helping like officer stuff, and like I was not wanting to log on because every time I logged on,
there was always something.
It was always like, this person did this or this person did this, and I'm like, guys, like, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't know. I don't really care.
Like, well, tell me this, like, at your job, is it not the same? Do people not gossip? Because at my job, holy crap, like, no one keeps their mouth shut. Everyone knows everything.
Yeah,
don't tell people anything.
It's definitely gossip, and it's definitely, I know that there's a lot of people in real life who like love drama one way or the other, and in a video game, like, you don't have anything to lose. So it definitely
and you can hide behind being anonymous, like, if you choose not to reveal who you are. Yes, Zookie. I know I was there.
Yeah, that was a moment. But it's easier, like, going back to the point with like 25 people, like, it's easier to find 25 people who can all get along and can all like enjoy
Yeah.
the time together instead of, not.
Instead of not.
Yeah, instead
I
of
mean,
not.
and it was a real bummer, like when we lost those two when they went to a PvE server, because we tried to hold together, but we just didn't have the tank support that we needed. Because we tried to run BWL and everything just fell apart and no one wanted to try again after that, which was really a bummer. But also, like, I think at that point, everything had just come to a head and we were just all exhausted from the politics. And honestly, like, I don't think it was terrible that we all went to different guilds, because like a lot of us, or I can't really say us because I haven't leveled yet, but a lot of people in the guild have come back, and like it's enough that you guys can run things. Because you guys ran 2 different groups of car, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or was that something else?
Yeah, 2 groups so far, both cleared. I think too, the other benefit of everyone leaving is people got to go and get different outlooks on how like guilds run,
a guild.
And see that like there was a lot of things that we did that were very subpar.
Yeah. So you guys, I think if we keep talking about WoW forever, I mean, I think most people that are watching are obviously from WoW, but
yeah, it's all the guild people here. Let's spill all the dirty secrets. Zuki, goddamn, no.
Damn it, Zuki.
Always
also,
die.
Zuki, stop posting videos that I want to throw up after. Stop.
Oh, that chicken one.
Don't do it again.
The worst was when I asked him what it was.
It wasn't just chickens. Those were.
Oh, you haven't seen the new ones?
You shouldn't have asked. I have refused to go because he said, oh no, he did say he was going to go to a chicken farm and post some stuff, and I was like, nope.
I saw that one. Rough. Not great. Gotta support the homie.
Zuki.
Thanks,
I can't watch it. Can't watch it. And like, I know that you're like calling people out for like wearing makeup, but it's just like, well, you were just saying that because like I know that stuff gets tested on animals, and like I don't wear very much makeup. It's not because I don't like makeup, it's because I'm lazy. Like I have plenty. And I mean, there are a lot of places that you can get makeup that isn't tested on animals, but like for one, like it's not just like makeup, it's a lot of stuff. Like it's makeup, it's every it's every it's really like it's everything is tested on animals, and like I don't know, it's not great, but like I try to avoid products that are just like obviously tested on animals. And like, well, the first one you posted, you straight up said like, tell your wives next time they put on makeup, this is where it's tested.
Oh, where it comes from.
Oh, I see. I got you. Okay. Well, the comment you posted the first time was that was where it was tested. But
I do think makeup is a fundamentally interesting topic for me, because like there's so much money that's wrapped around in it, and there's so much, I don't want to say brainwashing, but like it is brainwashing. Yeah, it's like 100%, this,
because all of us feel like we need it.
Yeah, it's like the idea of like, oh, well, this is the beauty standard. If you aren't following the beauty standard, you aren't going to get this or that. But the reality is like a lot of people who don't end up following the traditional or the expensive beauty standard are the ones that stand out, because they're not the ones that are just carbon copies of the beauty standard. It's really just like it's such an interesting thing. And what blows my mind the most is the money that is just,
it's insane.
It can be made.
And there, fortunately, like to be honest, I don't think there are that many people who are actually bothered by it, because they choose to ignore where things come come from, but there are a lot of vegan options. Like if it's something that bothers you, like there's tons of places, and not just for that, like for shampoo, for food. I mean obviously for me, like I'm not a vegan and I'm not a vegetarian, and sometimes I wish I was, but the times that I've tried, it's just like I haven't felt good. I'm sure that maybe there is a way that I could have gotten to a point where I would have, but
Sure.
I don't know. Like I know a lot of people that are indigenous, and like people who, at least people who are like Native American, like they take pride in like using every single part of an animal. And I can't remember what the parts that are like, there's a specific word for the parts that aren't meat. Like I'd have to look it up. I can't remember, but a lot of, unfortunately, like I don't want to say it's not white people specifically, but like American white people. A lot of American white people just value anything that is like off of that, like normal, something they see as normal.
Right.
And that's really unfortunate because like there are so many like things that can benefit from those products, but I don't know. And it's like, yes, using everything from the animal is a good thing, but like places like that Zuki sent us that horrifying video of, like clearly there's a lot left in that situation.
Yeah.
And
so to kind of explain the video that we saw,
I'm trying to debate whether we should explain it. That's why I was being super vague.
I'll vaguely explain it. It just kind of looked like a mishmash of animal parts that were getting pushed around by brooms and then like backhoes and stuff. That's like the
so bad.
Best way that I can explain it without getting into too much detail. And it was I don't know. The American culture is very interesting because it's like two prominent things. It's either what's trendy or what's super cheap, and both options usually are not great for the environment and not great for the body. And I mean, it's
true facts.
It's just
it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. Due to unpopular belief, because of my stature as a thick man, I did live a vegan lifestyle for a small portion of my life, and kind of similar to you, I had felt very, very weak, and
like you don't feel nourished.
Yeah, I didn't feel nourished, and I felt very sapped a lot of the time. Like I would do very minor, like I would go just work a casual day, like an 8-hour shift, and I'd feel way more exhausted.
And it works for some people, and that's that's something that you have to acknowledge, is that everyone's body is different, which I think people of every background need to learn to acknowledge, because there are people who eat meat that are like, oh no, vegan can never be healthy. But then like there are people who are vegan that like are built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Actually Arnold Schwarzenegger eats very little meat.
Yeah.
Like that's one of his things. There's like a documentary on Netflix or something that he did that was specifically about the benefits of plant-based diet, which like again, just everyone is different.
Yeah.
Like my mom, she struggled with her weight for a really long time, and then she like did this Whole30 thing, which is a lot of meat actually.
Yeah.
It's like meat and fats. No grains, no sugars, no dairy. So it's very focused on like protein and healthy fats to create energy in your body. And like that worked really well for her. And like she has been off and on it for like since like 2014, I guess.
That's the thing that always confused me, is I think people forget when like new ideas of how to either manage weight or, you know, lose weight or gain weight, whatever you're looking for in life, most come with that advisory to talk to your doctor, because everyone's body is different.
Yeah.
Because now like people are shunning keto, because a lot of people who did keto actually had negative side effects.
Got sick.
Sick.
They had medical issues.
The reality is, though, if you would have went and talked to your doctor, they probably could have been like, well, keto's not a great option for you. Or keto's a great option for you.
I think they actually have like, I don't know if it's like DNA testing specifically, but there are at least surveys that you can take to help you decide what's your best like option. And I hate to bore people because I don't want to just talk about food and like make people think this is like a diet talk show, because I really don't want it to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, everything affects everyone all the time. Food is something that everyone interacts with, and in a lot of countries it's a social thing, and especially like I have trouble figuring out things that I can do socially with people that don't involve food or drinking. And sometimes I find that really frustrating, because sometimes I'm like, I need to spend, it's not even just about the food, like it's the cost that comes along with it.
Right.
Like at my last company, my boyfriend's boss, they went out like maybe once a month, maybe once every other month. Like they never went out, made food all the time. He was very financially conscious, and I don't know, like he was a very smart person, and that was something that I wanted to do, but it's very hard, especially like when you are not in a great mental space to just motivate yourself to, I don't know, meal prep. I have a picture of one time that we actually meal prepped, and we had like 12 containers of food. It was crazy.
Yeah, meal prep is one of those things that I think we all could agree is super great for you, because like you don't have to think about it during the week. Like you're less likely. Yeah, you're less likely to go like with the cheaper like fast food option or shittier food option. It's just right there, throw in the microwave and go. But it's definitely one of those things where if you're not motivated, it's not going to happen.
Plan it. It's really, and that's something like we've done and fallen off of, is like we used to try to plan things. Like we would have a list of what we were making each night, and then sometimes we would just meal prep for like that week. We didn't do it a lot, but we did do it at least once, where we just did everything on pans, and it was in the oven, out of the oven, in the oven, out of the oven. It was hectic, but then we had meals for that whole week, and we didn't have to think about it for the rest of the time.
Right, which is super convenient and super, like, I've done it for a small portion back when I was doing a lot of like gym and boxing stuff. Like I was meal prepping regularly.
I've always wanted to do boxing.
Oh, do it. Don't hesitate. Just go do it. It's so awesome. It's a great, healthy option. It's it's expensive. It for sure is. Most gyms, like, and I won't say where you guys live, but I know that there's probably not going to be many cheap options where you're at. I can't imagine.
There's nothing cheap here.
Yeah, it's not.
The cost of living here is garbage.
I just saw actually a video where
California is getting really bad, obviously, too.
Yeah. I saw a video, someone was making fun of your area and said, can you guys believe this? And it was a house tour for this. It was on TikTok. You might run across it because it's trending. It was a $385,000 house, and it was a 1-bedroom flat, and it was like 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, and it also depends like what area. Like the further away from the city you get, the less expensive it is, but also then you're far away from grocery stores and everything. Like I have a horrible commute to work every day. It takes me an hour to get home at least, and I have friends that live way further away from me, but into the more rural areas, as opposed to driving through the urban areas like I do. And they get home the same amount of time as me, but driving twice the distance.
There's something about, because I live in Salt Lake City. I mean, I live, I don't know, 5 minutes out of Salt Lake City, I guess you could say. It is.
No one knows where you live now. They're coming for you.
They're coming.
Oh, I just called you uncle. No one knows what that is.
For those of you who don't know,
that was his WoW name.
on gaming, that's my WoW name. I can't, like, I've lived here most of my life. I've dabbled in other places, but I've always come back to Utah. It is so fucking busy now. I cannot deal with it sometimes.
Really?
I like we're like
Yeah.
we're the most booming city in the country right now, apparently. We have the most people moving here. There's no houses available. There's no like rent is like
Really?
oh yeah. It's crazy. Like I where I live is my family's house and they bought it in like 99 I believe for 198. If the trajectory continues the way it is, it'll be a $500,000 house probably next year. That's how crazy our housing market
I
is right now.
mean, my parents' house, I don't know what they bought it for, but I got a call from a realtor at work the other day and they're like, we sold a house in your area for 900 blah 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 $1,000 and or not, yeah, $900,000. And they're like, are you thinking of selling soon? If so, when? And I was just like, I don't own that house. My parents do, and they're not planning to move out. My dad is still working on the house. Like, he's built 2 decks off of the house. They'll probably retire there. I don't think they're planning on moving.
That's how it is here too. Like there is such a demand for houses. Their realtor companies around here are going and
Always.
they're taking pictures of people's houses and sending them mail and saying, "Hey, this is what your house is valued at," and they have staged fucking
We get
pictures
them.
already.
We get them.
Oh
get
my
them
god.
constantly from multiple companies. We get refinancing mail a lot. Yeah, refinancing mail and realtor mail. There have been billboards like for years that say we buy ugly houses or we buy a yeah, it's everywhere. Like anywhere that has a high cost housing market, like if you see a price online, take that and add $100,000 onto that, and that's the minimum you will pay for it. Because in places with high market value or like just just high prices for housing, just garbage economy for that, like you are fighting people in these bids, in these housing bids. Like
We just
you are not paying what's on that listing. No chance.
we just
Like if
broke a state record. $1 million over asking price here on one of the houses
that's
for sale.
insane, but also not surprising because people do that here. I actually, one of my coworkers, a lot of my coworkers are from California, which is funny. Um, They like to complain about it here, and I'm just like, so leave.
Right.
I don't know, but they talk about California, and like one of my coworkers, he wants to move back, but he can't because his wife's kids dad works here because he married her. It was like her second marriage, and so they still live here and probably will until those kids go to college. But we were looking at housing in California, and oh my gosh, like it's insane. It was like $900 million for some of these houses. I was like, what is happening? But also, like, some of the housing that is listed is crazy. We saw a house that had a guest house and it was not close to the house. It was far away, and all of that land was owned. I'm like, who? I'm sorry, is this Jeff Bezos' vacation house? What's happening? I
Yes.
don't understand.
Just I don't know. We have someone in chat. His name's Go Eagles. He lives in California.
Yeah,
and
clearly he's upset that we brought it up. He's like, don't remind me, and we're still talking about it. Sorry. Sorry.
I've talked to him quite a bit about
Forgive
it,
me.
and it's just crazy because like, and it's kind of sad to be honest too, because there's a lot of families that just they don't want to leave their situation because they raising their family there and stuff, but they are pretty much forced to like. Well, a lot of
Oh my
families are
gosh.
forced to uproot and leave to a whole
Homeless,
different
probably.
state. Oh yeah, it's
Like, it makes me want to cry on a daily basis. And I know people that like, there are a lot of people think these homeless people just don't want to try, but if you saw what I see every day, like I'm sure there are some people that fit into that description. Yes, I'm positive there are some people who just don't want to work. But since COVID happened, like our homeless rates have skyrocketed. It's gotten so much worse, and it was already really bad, and it's so much worse now. And I see people my age. Like, I gave a box of donuts to this guy on the corner, and he was my age, and as soon as I drove away, I wanted to cry.
Yeah.
And like, some people, like, even I have coworkers that are like, just go find a job. And I'm like, a lot of these people have mental illnesses, and there are so many barriers to finding a job when you're homeless that people don't think of. They're like, just go find a job. And a lot of the people that say that are like older people that are from like a generation where you could just like walk into someplace and say you wanted to work there.
Well, I think they forget.
You can still do that some places, like Subway, but that's not, you can't buy a house with Subway pay.
No, well, and I think
you can't live somewhere.
I think what they forget too is the bigger picture, right? It's like, it's not just go get a job. It's like, okay, well, if they're homeless, are they going to shower at their work? Are they going to sleep at their work? Are they going to drive to their work? Like, can they sleep out front until they get enough money to save up to buy a place? Like, it's not just as easy as like going and getting a job. They have
you have to go get a job, and then they're like, okay, you need to be hygienic while you work here, especially if it's food related, and no place is going to hire you if you don't have a source of a shower. And if you don't have money, you can't afford a gym membership to take a shower. Like, the places that you can take showers that aren't somewhere you live are a hotel and gyms. Yeah. Those are the places, or truck stations, but then you have to hope there's a truck station nearby.
Right. It's just like
those are the three places.
It's just such a bigger picture that I don't think people who actually want to look at it, because like so many people will say like, oh, we'll just do this or that, but they don't actually want to look into it because they realize it's a problem, and they just don't want to, the ignorant is bliss ideology around that.
It makes me so upset when people are just like, they assume, I don't know, it's not even just like the homeless issue, it's so many issues. Yeah. Like, people just choose not educate themselves because it's convenient, and as long as they don't know about it, they can't be held responsible for it. Like, it happens, like, it's the same, it's so many situations. Like, my dad would argue it's the same with religion. Like, he'd be like, well, people don't want to be Christian because then they'd be held accountable for XYZ. And I'm like, I love you, Dad, but it's more than that. Like, that's one reason, but yeah. There are a lot more reasons to not be religious.
Yeah.
But just like, there are so many issues where people just choose to not be educated. Speaking of not educated, but just like issues, have you watched the Bo Burnham special?
Yes. Phenomenal.
Are you broken? I'm broken.
Completely. I mean,
I'm ruined.
I don't know. I think it hit on our generation really well.
Not just ours, like, because he also like speaks specifically to Generation Z too.
Yeah.
Like, multiple times in that show. And I'm like, I see you. You're trying to bring in another audience.
Yeah.
But Bo he walks the line between comedy and existential crisis.
100%. And this was 100%.
Always.
Like,
this was so on brand for him.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I was never like a huge fan of his. I didn't dislike him, but I never really partook in much of his stuff that wasn't like highlights on Vine or TikTok. I think I may have lost her on Zoom. She might have to rejoin. I will keep talking while that happens. But I personally was never a huge fan of Bo Burnham, not because of any particular reason. I just never I guess I never gave him a chance until this new special came out. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, it's on I think you're back.
Everything crashed. I just started closing everything. I was like, no.
I think I did a good job. I just kept spewing knowledge about Bo Burnham.
Good, because I was like, I can't hear anything that's happening right
now. The only stuff that I ever heard about him prior to this special was like, he's very good. He makes a lot of great clips. He's popular on Vine. Like, he was famously popular on Vine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, his stuff always gets put into TikToks. Like he's the popular one that's like and this is crude for those listening, but he's the one who did the, what's better than pussy, a really good book, and then he hits his piano or something like that.
I love him.
Yeah.
He's also super musically talented. Like
Very.
A lot of his music is like basic 4 chords, but like when you're writing for an entire show, just like if you're trying to just like get a show out and you're writing music, like I don't care if it's 4 chords, if he can write the music he does. I don't care that it's 4 chords. Like I'm a musician and I value like jazz and all the people that are super talented with finding new chord progressions and like just bringing everything together that's super unique. I don't care, like, because his stuff, I don't know, to me, like, I don't know, it involves both things, because I've been to a ton of jazz shows and I've been to a ton of like open mics, and I don't care if it's 4 chords.
Yeah, I think that there's this weird, obviously I'm not musically inclined, and we'll definitely talk about your music soon, because the world needs to know. But
the world needs
to know.
They need to know.
They do. I remember like around when, I think Ed Sheeran was one of the first people who really kind of started negatively talking about 4 chords in like pop music.
Axis of Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you see that? That's like older than when Ed Sheeran got popular. That's like, but there's like a specific song that Axis of Awesome made, and it was like called basically they're comedians and they're making a bit, and it's called 4 chord song, and they just play 4 chords and they keep changing it to different songs. Like Don't Stop Believin'. I haven't heard it in so long, but they just keep like going to different songs, and it's like, oh my gosh,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
but like it doesn't matter. Like not everyone listening is someone who went to a million theory classes. I've been to a lot of theory classes, and I don't not enjoy like pop music. I still enjoy music that would be considered not necessarily like advanced. Like I don't care if it's advanced. Like to me, like I don't know, it all is a mix, because part of it is, does it sound good, and part of it is, do you say more than the same 4 words the whole time?
Right. I think music is one of those things that sadly in my eyes, and I guess with this topic, music can also have a very positive conversation. But yeah, music falls in that category where it can get really, really toxic with like gatekeeping.
Elitism.
And elitism. And
elitism everywhere.
Like I completely understand, like, yeah, if you're musically talented and you can do all these special things, I could understand like not enjoying like simpler music. But at the same time, like someone like me, I can enjoy listening to someone who is super technical, even though I don't know what they're doing. But I can also just be as happy listening to Justin Bieber talk about peaches in Georgia. Like it's like, and I don't know why like people get shunned if they don't have like a sophisticated music palette, when in reality it's making me happy, right? Like it's a win for me.
It's the same as, okay, I have 2 different tangents. One is about Christian music and the other is about Rick and Morty. So
okay,
don't
please.
Let me forget.
Okay.
A problem with Christian music is a lot of it's super basic and it feels like a knockoff of normal music, which it shouldn't feel that way, because like the people who write it, like they're really into it and they're writing what comes to their heart. And a lot of people feel like it's toxic because it's like emotionally manipulative. And I think that this, like, I've had my issues with the church, like, believe me, like lots of issues. I still consider myself like a person who believes in God and like that sort of thing. But I mean, the church has hurt me a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But like some people, and this is like the whole emotionally manipulative thing is like an argument that I never heard until I went to college. And there was this guy that I was like talking to at the time, and he said something like, he was like, I don't believe in singing anything other than hymns because hymns are not emotionally manipulative. And they're just like, "Mer, mer, mer." And I was like, okay, that's an opinion. But also, like, to me, I feel like if you're, hello, little deer in the background, that's my greyhound. Her name is Sissy, and she's the biggest baby you've ever met. She's standing behind me because she wants something. But if boyfriend is watching, boyfriend is responsible right now. She's gonna lay down. She's fine.
Oh.
Anyway, some people argue that Christian music is manipulative, and that's like a newer argument to me. But to me, because I'm a musician, like, and I believe in things like gifts of the spirit, like not necessarily just gifts of the spirit, but I believe everyone like has specific gifts. Like there are things that people are better at than other things. Like everyone has something they're really good at, or things they're better at than other people. And to me, like if one of those things is creating music that like moves people, I don't think that's manipulative. I think that's a gift. Like if you have that, you should create it because you're making music. Like people who wrote this music didn't write it to manipulate other people's feelings. They wrote it because that's what they feel. And that's what all music is like. Yeah. So I never agree with the whole like Christian music is manipulative thing. Like if that's something you feel, that's great. Like one time, like a long time ago, I wrote a poem and one of my lines was like, if you find salvation in a drum solo, so be it. Because I don't care. Like if you feel power, if you feel connection to like the bigger overall universe, like through something, that's fine. I don't care. Like I want people to feel connected and like not isolated. And I don't care what that comes through. I just want people to not be alone.
It's very interesting because I don't think I've ever heard this conversation before, like music being manipulative.
I'll send you something because I've seen it on TikTok recently, multiple times.
Because like I look at music as one of the only things that we have as humans that, I mean, there's other forms that we have, but like it can literally be a snapshot into someone's soul. And if it's upbeat or if it's depressing or if it's emotional, like that is still what that person is feeling. And you know, there's a lot of people who can create a lot of beautiful things but mentally are in a dark space. So I don't know if they're just trying to be like, no, like don't make things when you're in a dark space. Like I don't quite get the argument. Like it's just,
I don't know.
I mean,
I've heard it a few times, but like I don't know. Like I mean, I guess it's the same as like when parents freak out because music's about things they don't agree with. Like, I don't know. You can't stop people from expressing themselves. Like, we're in a place where things are allowed, and there will always be things that are considered taboo. Like, there are composers who literally made music with no words that were ostracized by governments because their music was considered like political art.
Yeah.
Like off the top of my head, I can't remember specific composers. I should look it up, but like right now I can't remember because like I've been in a lot of classes. There are a lot of names, but just like there are composers who wrote literally a piano piece that is just different, and that was seen as like a political outburst, and those people would like be shunned or like their lives would be in danger for the rest of their lives. Like they were just like, yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, honestly, like we should be a little bit grateful that your life is not in danger when you do things people don't agree with every single time. Sometimes your life is in danger, but I don't know. Most of the time, like if you have political, like if you have like conspiracy views, you're not necessarily in danger because of that. There are so many political shows and like art and so many things where people express opinions that like in other places could be considered dangerous. And we're lucky to have that freedom here.
We are very lucky. And you know, you have the organized religion where you're at that's predominantly Christian, and I have obviously the
Yeah,
old Mormons here, and
a lot of Mormons, and I've read a lot about it
it's
recently. But
interesting. It's very fascinating, but they also do a lot of similar things but it's more of a control thing, where they don't want their followers to be, partaking in a lot of different things. Like
yeah,
I can name you individuals off the top of my head who've never seen a rated R movie, and they're well into their adulthood because
yeah,
their
no,
church tells them not to.
100%.
And I do think that, if Christian music, like they're trying to say that's emotionally manipulative, I think it's in a way like if you go and listen to music and the person's telling you about their problems and you can relate to it, and that person's not part of your faith,
Yeah,
maybe you
it
might
doesn't
start
matter.
questioning. I mean, I just it doesn't make sense to me, because I mean, music is,
It's gatekeeping, like you said earlier.
yeah.
A lot of it is gatekeeping, and I think there's a lot of blurred lines with it and just new things and new opinions that are happening, and that's okay. And it's okay that we're just like all in like a weird space where we're trying to figure out what is happening and what we believe. And like for the first time in basically all of America, the population of people who identify as Christians is coming close to like a minority. It's been the majority for basically the whole time. And I think enough people have been hurt by it that um, it's reached this breaking point. And I find that really sad. Like, not because I feel like everyone should fall under the same description. I don't. And a lot of people who subscribe to, I don't know, sometimes I have a trouble calling myself a Christian because I don't like what that can imply. And I don't like being lumped in with a lot of people who can be really judgmental. But also at the same time, I would like to be part of the process of changing what that looks like,
Mm.
because I don't know. I guess it's I don't know. I have
I,
so many feelings about it.
I think it's tough because when the discussion is organized religion, a small minority that's vocal is usually what ruins the opinion of it for the rest
Yeah.
of the individuals.
Yeah.
And
I mean, and it's not just that though, because like I do agree that the majority probably of people who identify as Christians probably follow beliefs that could be harmful to other people. Like I agree with that. And it's really upsetting because like there are a lot of people my age who are Christians who feel that way and who leave the church. And we don't leave it because we don't believe in God. We leave it because we don't believe in those people anymore.
right.
And it's really sad. And like it makes me really sad because I don't know, just like not just in religion, but just over everything. There are just these generational gaps. And I think that the whole world is struggling to find a foothold into bridging those gaps. And I feel like there are definitely things that both sides are really resistant about it. And I don't know.
I've been
I just
talking.
get sad about it. I'm sorry for rambling. I'm just sad because I'm a super empathetic person. And it makes me sad when, like, I know people don't always get along, but it makes me sad when people hurt each other.
Yeah, I think that one thing that has always bothered me about organized religion as a whole is that the unwillingness, usually, and it's not always the case, but usually with the older generation that's a part of it, the
Mm,
refusal of opening viewpoints to new ideas that we are finding, right? Like
yeah.
specifically, we can, point, like here in Utah, we can point at like their stance on LGBTQ is still very negative. And
Mm,
it's like it's 2021 and we're still having people who have very hateful things said to him about that type of stuff, and it's
really upsetting.
really
I
upsetting.
hate it so much.
And I
and it
don't
hurts me.
understand why, like, as a community of whole, they can't just look at it and be like, oh, it's not bad at all. Like, I just, like, there's like, you're not doing, and from like a standpoint of like, if you were running an organization, why do they still want to have this opinion if they want to stay relevant? Because all of their people are going to leave because they realize that opinion is wrong.
And I can give you like a small tidbit of the answer to that. Like, at least in some more conservative areas of Christianity, like, and I hate this because I don't agree with it, but like some people's fear is like, if we accept people who fall into XYZ group, then we also have to accept that they can be a part of our staff. And I'm like, yes, that's the point. The point is accepting that everyone is an equal part of our community.
Mhm.
And I don't know, like, I'm sure there are a lot of people who disagree with me, and that's fine. That's fine. To me, it's fine if people disagree with me. To me, it's not fine if people actively use their opinion to oppress and hurt other people.
Yeah.
Which can happen a lot.
I have weird opinions when it comes to the Bible and people's thoughts.
It's not weird. It's not weird.
Well, okay,
it's normal.
My whole thing is, like, I see a lot of people who quote the whole, man shall not lay with another man. Okay. The way that I look at the way that I look at the Bible in like a weird, my own opinion way, right, is like a lot of those things were just trying, in my eyes, we're trying to explain how to survive as a human because we just weren't good at doing that. And we realized at that point in time, if men were to sleep with men, we cannot produce more humans. Right? So that's kind of like we don't know, like, who knows if we knew how that process worked back when the Bible was made. Like, it's just trying to tell people, like, this is what it is. It doesn't mean that you can't. I don't know. It just.
No, I agree. And it's that, like, I'm not going to say it's not all older people, because there are 100% people in our age range that also identify with this, but people have trouble reconciling what the Bible says with what the world looks like now. And I don't want to get super theological, but like, I don't know. I have so many thoughts. But like, there are a lot of ways to view the Bible. Like, some people view everything in the Bible as every word, like God possessed the person who wrote it, and every word in there is literal and exactly as it should be. And then there are other people who believe it is God inspired, which means the person was inspired by God to write it, but there's still like that person's viewpoints and that worldview that they have in the text. That's more what I identify with. Like, I don't think everything in there is like, this person like got possessed and God wrote everything word for word and this is exactly how you should take it. I don't identify with that, and I'm so there are definitely people who would be upset with me for that, but I don't care. And that's like part of where some of those issues come in, is some people have trouble deciding which things they think are literal and which things are not necessarily literal. And also, even if they are literal, if you read like an entire book, there's always context. There's always context that you need to take into account for all of those things, which can be ignored a lot. Like, there aren't that many verses in, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be a religious expert. I'm not. I just have certain opinions, and they're not the same as other people's opinions, and that's fine. But I don't know. Everyone interprets the Bible differently, and honestly, we should just be grateful that we have that right, because there was a time when we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, one of the biggest things, and why I personally think that organized religion will dissipate to a point of like very few people are still a part of it in the next 30, 40 years, is just the fact that there's so much confusion around what means what, and that it can be interpreted 1,000 different ways. And a lot of people our generation and younger are like, well, why do I have to go to this organization and, potentially pay their bills with tithing, other things like that, just to have a relationship with God? Why can't I just have a relationship with God and not have all the other drama that's associated with it? Yeah, like community is important, right? Community is important.
Yeah, that's the thing. That was going to be my argument, is that like the community is important, but I've also been like hurt by multiple communities, and I don't agree with some of those things that people do, and I'm not as closely associated with the churches I've been a part of because of those things. And like you said, like community is important.
Yeah.
It is.
It's definitely like, I also think though that we're getting to a point where there's so many communities that are loving and accepting of just who people are, that we no longer need, well, I don't want to say we no longer need, but there's less people who need a religious community to help them. There's communities that you can have online of like-minded individuals, or there's communities like in your neighborhood or in your city that have similar mentality than that. Like, I think there's just more competition now for community as well.
Competition, yeah, I guess, but like I think it can be more than that, because I think not. Did I freeze again?
No, I can hear you.
Or am I still here? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to check. Okay, you're just gonna have to tell me if someone says a comment, because when I have Twitch open at the same time, it wants to freak out.
Zuki said I'm more of a Scientology guy.
Yeah, that's the last thing I saw too, but I just closed Twitch, so I won't be able to.
That's fine. I'll follow necessarily.
It. If something comes up that is relevant, just say so. Okay. Yeah, I mean, part of it is the community, but part of it is that, like, the reason that organized religion exists is because people are drawn to a sense of stability, and also people want community within that. And there are a lot of different religions. Like, for example, a specific story that exists in several different religions is the story of the flood of the earth. That is present in multiple ancient religions, not just in Christianity or Catholicism or Judaism. Like, it's in a lot of different religions. So, like, to me, that says, wow, that probably happened, since it's present in so many different versions. And like, even if it didn't, like, so all of those religions like stemmed from probably originally the same place. Someone told a story, who told a story, who told a story, who told a story.
Right.
And to me, that's beautiful. Some people find that threatening. I don't know. People find difference threatening, and that's unfortunately been a part of culture for years. And obviously, we're still fighting to change that.
Yeah.
But if we want to talk about something that is less like splitting.
Oh no, I mean,
I'm fine with talking about it, like, because to me, like, it's important, and also I just want people to know, like, that not everyone feels that way, and it's really upsetting to those of us who don't feel that way.
No, I absolutely love having this conversation, because I've been having this conversation with a lot of individuals here in Utah, and Utah has a very, bubble of ideas, but I've had a lot of individuals who've come on in the past like 6 months who are part of our prominent religion and sharing a lot of the same things that you're sharing, where you were hurt by the community that you thought was there for you, and what happens when some of those individuals leave, and the process and the progression of their life, and was it worth it, was it not worth it, is there regrets, is there not regrets. Like, I think these are conversations that don't get had a lot because it's not easy to talk about, but at the same time it can be so beneficial for individuals listening, because I think, like you
People
and
feel
me,
alone.
people feel alone, and people feel like, well, maybe I'm just going through this by myself, when in reality I think that anyone who's religious or not religious questions their beliefs throughout their life multiple times. I think a lot of people will
They
say,
should.
yeah,
I think they should. And I think anyone who doesn't question things should think about why they don't question anything.
yeah,
And like, that's a conversation I've had to have with like people like that I went to college with, because I have friends who, and like the Bible talks about like gifts of the Spirit, and like one of those can be faith. And like I have friends who just like never question anything. It was really easy for them to believe, and it's never been that way for me. So I've had to like ask those people for advice. I'm like, I don't understand how you feel this way. I'm like, I literally just, I can't fathom how you could not ever have questions. But also like those people, one of my best friends, like he started going to like a career counselor, and he's like, well, my career counselor actually encouraged me to have more questions, and so I've been trying to dive into that more. I'm like, good.
yeah, fantastic.
Because like there's a reason that memes exist about like sheeple and all that. It's just like, don't blindly believe anything.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, that can open a whole other can of worms, which is about like just like why I have issues like talking to my dad, and just like, because he's so much more conservative than me, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like, I love my father, and I think he's very smart. He's very smart. And I don't know, it's fine that he believes the things he does, but the reason that it bothers me is that if I have a differing opinion from him, he thinks I'm brainwashed. And I'm just like, just because people think different things doesn't mean that people are brainwashed. It just means they grew up with different environments. Like the whole nature versus nurture argument, like obviously my family believes not necessarily exactly the same way that I do.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And
100%.
I just also want my friends and my family and anyone that I encounter to recognize that I've come to the beliefs that I have through a struggle, an internal struggle of my own, where I've done plenty of research, and I haven't decided anything blindly. Like, I listen to podcasts and like read things, and I don't just blindly decide to follow anything ever.
I think humans, especially as you get older, like you go through periods of like reinforcing your beliefs and then letting your beliefs kind of like, thin out and then reinforcing them again. And I really think that there's just a point in time where humans as a whole refuse to have new knowledge brought in, because A, they're just over it, they don't care, and B, like, no one wants to be told that most of their life they've like
Believed a lie.
They believed a lie, so they find it very offensive. And
it can be.
Yeah, for sure. And I used to struggle with that as with how I grew up here in Utah, because most of my
an Exmo?
No, I'm
no. I didn't think that you grew up
in
church, but
I did not, and I've always.
But you obviously know a lot of people.
Yeah, I know a lot about it, and I've done a lot of research on it because I live here, so I wanted to be at least knowledgeable and not just go and spew shit just to spew shit. But I used to be a lot more, my teenage angsty time, a little bit more aggressive of my distaste for things, and now I'm just more of like, if it makes someone happy,
exactly,
I'm more for it. But I do think that there's individuals who get to a point where they just have zero interest in having the conversation, so they just immediately shut down, and sadly that just is doing them a disservice, because they're not expanding their horizons. They're just going to be the same person until they inevitably
it's okay. Like, everyone has button topics, and it's okay. Like, I think those people will eventually hopefully will eventually get to a point where they're okay with talking about it, but they're probably more freshly traumatized by those events. I think I've recommended this book to you, but I'll recommend it again. There's a book called Educated, and it's a memoir of this girl who grew up in your area, and she ended up like eventually going to college in another state and learning all these things. And it was just like she had to deal with so much to figure out where she identified. And I think she would still probably say she's religious, but her family doesn't want to interact with her the same way because they think like all kinds of things. Like they think she's been possessed. They think all kinds of things. And I think, I don't know.
I'm sure this exists across all religions. Here in Utah, we specifically have a doctor diagnosed LDS anxiety disorder. Mm-hmm. And it's ran rampant, and sadly, because our state is not ran by politicians, it's kind of ran by the church itself. They don't talk about it.
Archaic.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't talk about this. This isn't in the media because they don't want it to be known. They don't want people to know about this disorder. But they do such a heavy job of making you feel like if you do certain things that you will end up in a bad place. And now with social media and technology with such an ease, these individuals are seeing these different options, and it's just wrecking their mental state.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
like one of the things in this memoir she talks about is the first time she takes ibuprofen.
Yeah.
And how it was this huge thing for her. Like, I don't know. And that's like, I don't know. That Mormonism isn't the only place where that occurs. Like,
no.
Christian Scientists don't believe in a lot of medication. And there are a lot of different religions that believe in more natural or herbal or different kinds of healing, which I don't think has to be a bad thing, but also like at least in my branch that I grew up in of Christianity, it's Nazarene. Like we have like a handbook, and some of the things in the handbook, like one of the specific things that we talked about in a small group that I'm a part of recently was that we believe in the healing of God and science.
Yeah.
Like it straight up says like we believe in science because that has to be said sometimes.
I think that there's levels to things, right? Like I think that Eastern medicine has a lot of fantastic benefits that we still are not on board with on the Western medicine side.
It's not a bad thing. Those things apply.
Yes, and I think that there's a lot of is the word holistic? Is that the correct word?
There's I mean holistic and versus holistic, homeopathic, like those things don't necessarily have to be the same things. Holistic is more like non-chemical, but I mean, to be fair, most chemical things come from non-chemical things.
Yeah. I think there are a lot...
holistic and homeopathic.
I think there are a lot of different options for many casual related medical things. But I do get lost and very disturbed by individuals who refuse to take their child to like an emergency room if they're having like a life-threatening incident because, they believe in a certain religious path when we have modern medicine. And this is where I get kind of lost on that too, is like, I don't know why like you can't just justify like, well, no, God gave us that medicine, so we should just use it, right? Like,
right.
If that's like if you believe in God, like can't that be like the justification? But no, they just will refuse to let doctors like do their job, and that one pushes my buttons.
And there's like it's not like a biblical parable, but it's like a parable people have come up with over the years, and it's like a man is stranded during a flood, and he thinks God will save me. A helicopter comes and says, "We're here to save you," and he says, "No, it's okay. God will save me." a rowboat comes up and says, hey, we're here to rescue you. And he's like, no, it's okay. God will save me. And then he gets overtaken by the water and he drowns, and he goes to like his judgment day and he says to God, why didn't you save me? I thought you would save me. He's like, I sent like all these different ways for you to be rescued, but you ignored them.
You're like, so I sent help.
He's like, I sent help. And I think that applies to a lot of things now, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to just like polarize everyone who's still watching.
Well, I mean, I think it definitely is a topic that I'm sure we could discuss for hours and hours, and
it would never stop.
Yeah.
I could talk about this forever just because of my experiences and going to a Christian school, and I have so many LGBT friends, and like, I don't know. There's just so many things.
It's sad. There's a lot of hurtful things that still go on in this world that, I should just say in America specifically, that are 100% preventable if people just be a little bit more accepting.
Humanity.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's kind of like the human condition is there are so many things about the human condition. We want to be right. We want to understand. We want to have all the answers. I don't know. We just want to be able to control things. There's so many things.
Well, and I think that we're starting to realize some of the worst possible conditions for humans too are things that we never really thought about. I think that one of the most dangerous things for humans is loneliness.
It's so much worse right now, and the effects of it are so much more obvious. Like, I think suicide rates have increased a crazy amount since the pandemic started. And I know, like, specifically to me, like, my mental health has been just like, since this happened, like, not to, I mean,
no, please,
we can talk about like what all the whole freaking pandemic has affected. And it's not just the pandemic, honestly. Like, mental health has been an issue for years, and it's just recently been more obvious. Like, I don't know. There are a lot of people who are older generations who don't believe it exists.
Yeah. Anxiety or depression just means you're weak. I've heard that one before as a man. That's really cool.
Not even just that, like, and again, like, not to return to this, but I've seen so many memes, and not just memes, but like heard this personally. Like, people are like, why don't you just pray? I'm like people want to tell me to not take medication for my anxiety. I'm like, I will die.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you want that? Do you want that? Is that what you want?
Yeah, I sadly I can't really relate on the side of, like, you know, the, like, religion causing, or like,
sadly, like, it's okay.
Yeah,
everyone
like,
comes from different backgrounds, and I don't have a problem with that.
But I definitely can relate on, like, the depression, anxiety, and like how it can be, you know, devastating to,
it's debilitating.
It really is. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of depression, and I'm with someone in my life who has anxiety, and, you know, I'm happy that we're at a point in time, even though it had to come through memes and TikToks and YouTube, but we're finally at a point now where, like, we can openly discuss these things and not feel like we're going to get judged for being weak or lesser of a human. Like, it still happens, of course, but I can have constructive conversations with individuals who are feeling the same way as I do, or like maybe they feel completely different, but we can pop ideas off each other on how, like, things that have helped. And it's like, there's communities where it's like everyone's trying to help each other get out of it. You know, it used to just be, oh, you're dealing with that? Well, like, just don't. Why don't you just be happy?
Oh my gosh. That was another thing that was in Bo's special. He had that clip after one of his songs where he's like, I'll kill myself then. And his clip was like, I'm not actually suicidal. And he's like, if you want to kill yourself, just don't.
Yeah.
And I was like,
don't.
oh, Bo.
It's Yeah,
he overly simplifies it intentionally, but yeah. But all of that, like you said, yes, like I feel like I can talk about it with people I know that I'm close to, like my friends, and most of the time my family. I feel like the times that I can't talk to people about it are in my work setting a lot. And specifically, the job that I'm in now has been causing me a lot of mental distress. And like, I call in because I can't get out of bed. And it's gotten to a point where I received like a warning about it recently, like this week, which was really upsetting because, for one, like, not only are we dealing with, our department has gone through, it's a garbage fire. It is. Our department has gone through like a change in leadership at least twice in the past 4 months. And we're going to go through it again if a new chief is assigned, because I work for the government, so you can get detailed positions. So our current chief is someone who is in the position temporarily, basically. So I don't know. We're going through a lot, and I'm not the only person who's experiencing a lot of mental exhaustion and trauma from my position, but because I haven't been there for a long time, I can face consequences for it and eventually be terminated if I take too much time off, basically.
Well, right. And I mean, I don't know if you want to get into this too much, but you also had to go through the very unpleasant circumstance of COVID-related layoffs.
Yeah, no, like it's fine. My last company, I worked for an oil and gas company, which like I didn't really want to do in the first place, but after applying out of college for jobs for a year, when the only 2 companies that offered me a job were both oil and gas related,
Kind of gotta.
you gotta pick one. I needed a job. And I mean, at the time I got laid off, I was honestly looking for other jobs already. But I mean, basically our whole entire department got laid off at the time that I got laid off. A few, like 5 people were kept from our department to help the company, and they were just mushed into another department. But like, obviously it was upsetting, it was frustrating, and I was worried because a gap in employment never looks good. But I'm hopeful that gaps in employment within this time period will be seen with grace in the future.
Well, I also think too, with a lot of, I mean, I know it can get more confusing in more technical related jobs, but the idea of resumes and gaps in unemployment are starting to become more of an irrelevant thing because people realize that individuals want to go live their lives, and that might not necessarily mean that they're always working. And
I hope that's the case.
a good interview can outshine a gap in employment, or whatever it looks like. So
they generally ask about it, at least in interviews, but I don't know, because I'm not on the HR side of things. I don't know like what kind of, I'm so sorry.
No, you're okay. The wine's kicking in.
It is definitely kicking in, like yawning wise. I also yawn a lot. Just
speaking,
when I talk a lot, I yawn a lot. It's really bad. The whole Malibu bottle. It's a
big bottle.
Commences. Oh man.
Doesn't really show up well on screen.
It shows up every 2 frames.
That stuff is delicious. It's dangerously delicious.
My first real experience with alcohol was with Malibu mixed with Sprite, and I was like, okay, I can get down with this.
Yeah, you're like, that's like Sadly, that's kind of like the worst experience because then you're like, man, alcohol tastes fantastic.
It doesn't though.
Yeah, and then you.
I mean, at this point, like, there wasn't. I don't know if I think I told the whole guild about this one time, but I know my boyfriend can attest to this. There was a night I drank an entire bottle of whiskey.
Oh.
I really hope none of my family is watching this. Please forgive me. It was a bad night.
Sometimes whiskey just
if my
happens.
family is watching this, I'm just gonna stop existing now.
I wanted to ask you because I know that you had mentioned, I think in our Discord at one point, that you were looking for potentially other jobs. And do you have like what would drive you to like potentially leave or like go on an adventure for a job? Like, do you have, because I know you're in engineering, like that's what you got.
My degree is in engineering, and currently I'm working for a VA hospital for veterans in an admin role, which can work for some people, but
Sure.
I'm just not built for it. I'm not. I get burnout from talking to veterans and vendors that just put us down, and especially like working for the government is really hard because one of the parts of working for the government is we are constantly understaffed, and the only reason that it ever gets resolved is we have like 5 years to point to that we've been understaffed. We're like, look at all of these bad metrics because we didn't have enough people. And they're like, oh, 5 years, that's good proof. And it's like, okay, but all of those people left now. So,
Wonderful.
and I think that's something that me and a lot of my coworkers are dealing with right now. Like a lot of people in my department have been resigning, which puts a lot of stress on the rest of us. It's just this never-ending cycle, honestly.
So where would you think you would be able to find like your what's a good way to word this, like
Dream job?
Dream job's always tough because like I don't think they necessarily exist,
It's
but
not realistic.
But somewhere where you could feel like your passion in engineering and why you went to school for it could like be let out.
So my original, oh my gosh, just thinking about high school and how I even got to this point, it's wild. So when
someone clip that, it's wild.
it's wild. When I was in high school, I was trying to figure out different ways that I can help people because I'm an obsessively compassionate, empathetic person, which is something like my mom was like, go to a therapist, figure out how to be less this way. I'm like, I can't. It's like built into my DNA. Sorry. I'm like, I care about people, the end, period. And there was a person in my life who was dealing with potentially a chronic illness, and I wanted to figure out a way that I could, I don't know, help with that. So one of the possible things, there are a lot of different paths you can take to do medications. So one of those paths was like biomedical engineering. There are two different sides to biomedical engineering. There's like the machine version or the chemical version where you do medicines in a test tube.
Right.
Which at this point isn't the direction that I took, probably because my degree is in mechanical engineering and I haven't gotten to work in the industry that I really want to at this point. Right now, my job is in a prosthetics department, but again, like I'm admin, so
you're not really partaking
I'm
in
part of the solution, but not part of the solution, you know. My goal would be to be in like a position where I like design those things. Like a person that I look up to a lot is Matt Herr. He's a professor at MIT, and he
lost both of his legs hiking Mount Everest. And now he's a engineer who designs bionics, and he has 2 prosthetic legs, and I don't know, like all the technology involved with it, but it's really interesting to me.
Super interesting. I mean, that's a field that just seems to be ever evolving. I mean, I've seen prosthetics now that I maybe you can enlighten me, but like when it goes on the arm, they can plug it into like the nerves that are still there, and your brain can like start firing, and it can almost trigger the fingers now with technology. And I'm like, that's insane.
Right. Like, and that technology exists, but I'm not sure, like now after working in prosthetics for a while, I'm not sure how accessible it is. I would say at least most people who aren't like super rich, their access to that kind of technology is probably limited. But from working in a prosthetics environment, I've seen a lot of people with just normal prosthetics that have programming to act like a normal leg would or a normal arm would. And honestly, those things are pretty effective too, and not as costly. And like there was one of the people that was temporarily overseeing our department has most of his leg is a prosthesis. He was in an explosion when he was in the services, and most of his leg has over time been removed. So he has a very small amount of residual limb, but he does have a prosthetic leg, and that improves his life quality a lot. And that's something that I want to be a part of. And that's like a huge part of why I went on this journey of becoming an engineer, and why I'm in this admin position in a prosthetic department is I've been hoping it would get me into a position where I could design things like that for people. So I've gotten to see a lot of that in the position I'm in, which is really important to me. But most of my job is spent behind a desk in a room where I don't interact with veterans at all. And honestly, like, to be honest, interacting with patients, like anyone who has worked in a hospital will know how stressful it is, because it doesn't matter whose fault something is. If you are the point of contact, it's your fault.
Yeah, of course.
And that's a lot of what is been really hard on me at this position, is just being like this point of contact. And like, I love being able to help the veterans. I really do. And there's nothing like it. But the way I'm built is just, it really exhausts and drains me. And I don't think that I can perform long term in a position like that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because like I'm a firm believer in, and I don't know if this is just like, maybe I'm just wired wrong, but it blows me away when I talk to people who are so dissatisfied with their work, but they don't leave.
I have really close friends that are that way, and you're not wired wrong. I think, again, it's just everyone's wired differently, but there are some people who are wired, I don't know, like, sometimes I feel bad about like how I am. Like, I feel bad that I'm dissatisfied with my job. Like, I recently have listened to podcasts about how to like be productive in a job that you aren't necessarily happy with. But I also have friends like who I feel like say they hate their jobs, but they've been in that same position for 5 years and haven't done anything about it.
Right. That's kind of what I'd never understood. There's someone in my life who, I guess I could just say it because she doesn't watch. My mother, she's worked in the CNA / RNA.
CNA jobs are horrible.
Yeah,
everyone knows that job sucks.
Yeah, she's worked in CNA, RNA, and then like managing retirement homes for her entirety of her life. And
horrible.
she has pretty much hated where she's been at for like 7 or 8 years now.
That's
But
awful.
is so afraid of change that she doesn't leave. And I'm like,
Right.
there's...
It can be really, really hard.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I actually got a job offer a few months ago that was a lot more money than I'm making at the VA. And it wasn't because I was afraid of change that I turned it down, but it was because I thought things were going to get better in my department. And I was made promises that never came to fruition, which is super frustrating. And I don't know, I hope it's for a purpose or for the better in the long run that I didn't take that job.
Right.
But also, like, it's really upsetting that I didn't take a job that I could have potentially made $25,000 more a year.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, you know, having the money is definitely important, but at the same time,
It was not in the industry that I wanted.
yeah.
And that was essentially, in the end, that and like a promise of a better position were why I didn't take that role. And I don't know, like right now I'm trying to apply for roles that more closely fit what I want in a job, but honestly, with my level of education, it may require me to go back to school. And school is really hard for me. It really messes with me with my mental state. I was super depressed all through college, and my anxiety was just on fire. My freshman year, like halfway through my freshman year, I can remember a specific time when I was like in the quad between my dormitory and like the cafeteria and stuff, and people were literally like super happy and like singing worship songs and all this, and I'm just thinking about maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe I don't have what it takes. And I just remember that moment very specifically because I remember texting my family about it, and they're like, it's okay if you need to go home. And I'm like, it's just people in our age range grew up going to high school where basically all of our worth was, do you go to college? Do you apply to college? Like, even if you weren't planning to go to college, at my school, you were still required to apply for at least 2 colleges.
Right.
And it's like, I knew people who were planning to go to emergency response classes or welding or all these different things. But even though they didn't have a college track in mind, it was just it was a high pressure environment.
I think that in our education system, we do a good job at saying like, hey, there's this thing called college that you need to go to, but then we do a really piss poor job at explaining like
what that means.
Yeah, what that means and what is
Guess what?
out
You're
there.
gonna have to take all of these loans, and then you're gonna be $100,000 in debt when you finish. And depending what your major is, you may not be able to pay that off for 30 more years.
Well, not only that, but I feel like we don't do a good job in our education system at showing the possibility of work that exists in the world. Because
right. And I think a lot of that is, I don't know what it is really, because I feel like there are a lot of different trade school options other than just going to college and getting a degree that you maybe never use. Like engineering is a very specific path that I feel like if you're taking an engineering path, you most likely know what you want to do with
yes.
that, unless you have a family behind you that's like very pressuring. I have a lot of friends that have family that have pressured them
yes.
into certain education paths that they didn't necessarily want to take, which is sad.
I think my thing, do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is? He's a guy on TikTok, business dude.
Yeah, I feel like I know him.
He's like entrepreneurial and does a whole bunch of stuff. I kind of lean more towards his ideas and the future of university not being what it is now, because like you said, unless you're going for engineering or you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or anything along those lines, schooling at this point has become so expensive that it's not worth it.
Insane.
And
for people that like have planned paths, like the amount of debt that people who go into the medical field end up in is insane.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, the only people I know that haven't ended up in enormous debt from medical school are my friends that have been in the service and have a GI Bill.
Yeah.
And even those people still have some version of debt.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like we're starting to realize that there's so many certificate options. There's so many other ways to go about schooling that this traditional idea of going to a big university or a private college or something along those lines is becoming less and less relevant, because I mean, it's
good riddance. Like,
it's
let's publicize all the different options there are. Like, there's like welding is something that I feel like has kind of died off a little bit, and I feel like it's actually really important.
All of my friends who went the route of trade are now all making at least 70, 80 grand a year.
Money.
And and I think we forgot that, because like there was a gap, right? When the baby boomers came, or not the baby boomers, but the baby boomers, when they came back from, no, not them, the generation before, when they came back from war and they started doing a bunch of tech jobs, they trained the next generation. Well, that whole generation is starting to retire.
Yeah, but the baby boomers are the ones that pushed the idea of college education. Oh,
they did, but I'm saying all the ones that didn't do college and went into tech, they're all starting to retire, meaning that all of those positions, all those positions are going to start opening up, which means there's going to be either a huge demand in those jobs or there's going to be a lot of money. I have a friend who did underwater welding. Like
that is so much money.
Yeah,
because it's super dangerous.
I don't want to quote exactly what the dollar amount was, but he did a 3-month stint in one of the Great Lakes working on some pipeline and like also like a boat or something like that, some ship. I think he said he came home with like 60 grand in the 3 months.
That's crazy.
You know,
that's not the only. A lot of contracting jobs come home with more money than you would expect.
Plumbing is huge money.
But I mean, part of the reason for that is that contracting jobs are short term and you don't know what you're going to have after that. I've worked with a lot of contractors from working in oil and gas. Like, they make a lot of money, but they have no weekends, like, at all. Like, they work every day, the entirety of a job. And then they go home, and then they've made a ton of money, but zero breaks, like don't see their family, don't go home. They work like 10-hour days every day. It's insane.
There's another one that I like to talk about, and it is not a job that is seen as glorious, but I promise you there's a lot of benefits.
Okay.
Trucking.
It's not glorious because it's dangerous, because they expect products to arrive at a certain time, and the amount of time that you can fit in to sleep or like whatever, if there's like any accident or traffic, like it's
very risky.
That's your sleep hour. But also you're not technically allowed to drive for X number of hours straight. Like, usually there's a system built into the truck that can track if you've stopped to sleep. So
where I live specifically, like it's north of Salt Lake City,
right?
There is like 15 or 16 trucking companies that are by me, and not only are they hiring for CDL drivers every day, they are doing bonuses of like $5,000 right now because of how desperate they are for trucking. And
because it's awful.
Yeah, it's not a great job. But the one thing that I think a lot of individuals my generation don't realize if you're struggling to find somewhere to live and can't pay rent, you could go on the road for a couple years and save up those huge paychecks, and you could just have your truck. I mean, I know someone who just did that, and now they're living in a pretty nice house, and he's making like 90 grand a year driving.
Yeah.
It's just if you're built for that lifestyle. But these options aren't talked about. No one ever told me like, hey, like you could go become a trucker.
Because people look down on something that, not everyone, but because of the way the baby boomer generation raised us.
Yeah. Truckers were like...
Yeah, a lot of those positions are just looked down upon, but it's like, those are really hard jobs. Like, you get paid a lot because they're dangerous. Like, truckers, if they're driving anytime during the winter, it is super dangerous. Like, they have shows about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Because that stuff is crazy and like it's super dangerous. And
well, I think too, with the whole,
crazy.
You know, Amazon delivers everything nowadays too. There's even a higher desire for trucking.
My best friend is currently, she works for Amazon and she's getting her CDL license right now. Like, she's doing the classes and everything. And I hope she makes more money like afterwards, but also, I don't know, Amazon's sketchy.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic.
She's been working there a while though, and it's worked out for her. I mean, she's gotten a few different promotions, so I'm hopeful that this works out for her. Like, she went sorry, just dog. She's been laying there since I showed you her last time. She's just like,
attention, please.
No, she doesn't care for attention. She's just sleeping and making noises. But anyway, like, my friend, she went to school for nursing for a semester, and then it didn't work out for her, which is fine. Like, college doesn't work out for everyone, and that's fine. But I feel that a lot of the companies that offer jobs that don't require education take advantage of that, because those people's options can be limited. And I really hate that so much.
I do too. I don't know. Our society is just in a very weird spot, and I think that the unpredictableness of the next 15, 20 years is a little scary.
Yeah, just a little. I don't know. I mean, and I feel like this pandemic has made everything exponentially worse. Like, one of the reasons that I'm frustrated about this warning that I got is literally weekly we get an email from the director encouraging us to stay home anytime we have like a sniffle, basically. And since I haven't worked there for a year and completed my probationary period, I'm like, this warning isn't necessarily anything to worry about yet, but if the pattern continues, it would be. But like, I have this warning, so like, I'll never take sick leave ever again, basically. But it's just frustrating because we're in this period where we're just encouraged, like, if you have a sniffle, if you have a headache, if you have anything that could possibly be considered part of COVID, stay home. And it's like, I get headaches a lot, and that's one of the symptoms. So it's like,
right.
If I get a migraine, do I stay home? Do I come to work? Like,
I have a weird outlook on the whole way that we handle required hours in workplaces for a lot of time. I understand that if there's work to do, you want your employees there, but the best companies are the ones that allow their employees a little bit more leniency because they're happy and they're happy, healthy, and more productive because they feel like they have free time. But we don't do that here. It's just other countries that do that and have the best churn out rates. I do have to do something really quick. I don't know if this will come through the screen or not, but I forgot to turn something off and Papa Smurf had redeemed it. So
I did just say something. I saw something show up on the stream. It's not showing up in our chat, but I saw you pull something into the screen, but now it's not.
oh yeah, I
I
didn't
saw a
read that.
dinosaur.
Yeah,
Papa, what did you do? What did you do, Papa?
He didn't do anything. Well, he just redeemed something. So I apologize if this is loud on your end or loud on the stream.
I'll take my headset. I've got my hand on the headphone in case. Do it. Do it. Also, I can't see the page right now on the stream.
There you go. I sent it.
Well, people are saying roar, so apparently they saw something, but I can't hear or see anything on the stream. Do it. Do it now. Sorry.
There's a redeem for 25,000 points of a T-Rex noise, and I turn these redeems off on podcast night because it's very
obnoxious.
I'll redeem them the points. I want to hear you roar. I will roar.
Okay, Katy Perry.
Yeah. I need to be more on top of that because that's super embarrassing.
I mean, to be fair, we've just been talking about whatever.
No. I just T-Rex roars. Yeah. So I wanted to get into a little bit of your music. Your music career. Well,
non-career. You mean?
I want to know like where it started, because you obviously have done a bunch of classes.
Yeah. So, I started taking piano lessons probably when I was 4 or 5. I started taking lessons with the teacher I was with for most of my life when I was 6, and I love her. She's amazing. She's incredible. She was from Ukraine, and just, I don't know if you've ever met anyone from Russia or Ukraine, but they have very intense schooling and parents that expect a lot of them.
Yeah.
But she was very intense, but like a good teacher, and I wouldn't have wanted anyone else, honestly. But so I took lessons in piano for a long time with her, and on and off growing up I took like vocal lessons with a few different teachers. So I've always loved singing for forever. I don't know how old I was when I started taking vocal lessons, but I went to an art school. So in like middle school and high school, it was kind of similar to college in that you still had majors. So you still had like a focus, but it was essentially like kind of like an elective. So there was like an hour and a half every day where Suki said you did great. But there was like an hour and a half every day where we would practice whatever our focus was. Like at the school I went to, there was like dance, creative writing, piano, vocal, band, orchestra, guitar, video cinema, visual arts. That might have been it. Tech. There was tech as well. Stage tech or tech design, basically like backstage stuff and costumes and that kind of thing. And so there was an hour and a half you spent just practicing that every day. So my major was piano for most of the time I was there. There was one year that I switched to guitar. And then I switched back. just because it was really hard to keep up with both. And if I had to choose one of the instruments, it was going to be piano because I had invested the most time into that. But so basically I've played piano for forever and also been a singer for a really long time. I've written some music, but I haven't really shared very much of that. Okay, Suki. Rude. I don't hear my boyfriend saying anything. Is he involved? I'm gonna walk in there and find out. I'm gonna ask him later and ask what kind of garbage you said about me. But like, it's fine if you are, I guess. But I'm honestly surprised you're still listening. I didn't think anyone from Fallen would come listening because I was just like, I mean, whatever.
Wait until he gets involved. It's the grand
He won't
finale.
get involved. He won't get involved. He's very quiet. He's very talented at WoW, so he's focused on that, I'm sure.
Yeah, the gang's still out there.
I know they are. I can hear him in the other room. Click, 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 click.
He's calling right now.
Not me. I can hear him in the other room. Prove it. Prove it. He hasn't commented a single time. I told him he was supposed to be trolling this whole time, but he didn't. He didn't troll or say anything.
Tiny Rick is raw. Duh. I forgot.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Good old Raw.
Okay.
Should
Hi,
have known.
Raw. We love you.
I guess what I wanted
totally
to
got
get
distracted.
to. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. We started talking about WoW people and I got super distracted. But
I guess
anyway,
what I wanted to know is like, when have you posted some of the songs that you've written?
I think only one at this point on my YouTube channel, at least.
Yeah.
So, Lay Boyfriend got me this this songwriting book when this was before we started dating. He bought me this and I started writing in it and like copying music that I had written into it. I don't know if he's listening. He's gonna be embarrassed if he is. Stop listening now. This is the warning. I see you laughing. Oh no.
No, I love it because like.
Stop listening. No, this is like, it's probably embarrassing to him, but it's also embarrassing to me just because like I didn't know how to express my feelings. So like the first time that I told him I loved him, I played him this song and I was like, this is so embarrassing. Oh my gosh. Okay. Everyone in Fallen, stop listening now. I don't know. Like I was just really scared to express myself. So like part of the song says like, I'll tell you something if he just told me to stop. I'm stopping. Okay. He's so upset he is listening. Nothing. I didn't tell him anything.
Listen.
I won't read
Listen.
I said I stopped!
Listen.
So mad at me.
I'm a sucker for sappy stuff. I'm not saying do it. I'm not saying do it. I'm not saying do it.
I'm not trying to be single, okay?
Yeah, don't. We have to. We don't want it. We don't want to embarrass anyone. But
the gist of it is that
I
I sang a song to tell him because I didn't know how to express myself.
love it.
That's it.
That's
I won't read the song.
That's very wholesome.
Yes, I also wrote like a song about liking him, and there was another time like the way he tricked me into telling me that I liked him was because I had written a poem, and he was like, "So tell me this poem," and I was like, but then I sent it anyway, and he was like, "I don't understand," and like
thirst trapped me, basically.
Oh man, I love it.
Also, I'm dying at B-Bert right now. Papa, maybe someday I'll post it on my YouTube. Anyway, there is a song that I wrote that is posted on my YouTube. I wrote it when I finished watching Steven Universe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's called Television, and gotta find it. But he's the only reason he's upset with me is because people from the guild are watching. If no one he knew was watching, he wouldn't care. But people he knows are watching, and he interacts with them every day. Well, if you interacted with me more than the freaking guild, then maybe it wouldn't be a problem. I'm just kidding. But the song I wrote called Television, I basically wrote it about like how books and shows, like I get really invested in them. And
I have a similar, I don't want to say problem, but similar thing.
Yeah, but like, so like when my boyfriend had me watch Breaking Bad, like it's a good show. It's a good show. But for anyone who's watched it, they know Beaver, a lot happens in that show.
Yeah.
Like it's an intense show. And as a person who is very emotionally charged, it was a lot for me. He'd be like, let's watch another episode. I'm like, I'm still digesting the last one. He's like, what do you mean? Why don't you want to watch it? And he was always upset with me. And I'm like, I need a break. I'm still reeling. Okay.
My poor wife is also the same. I just put her through Naruto and Naruto Shippuden.
I just started watching Attack on Titan.
Yeah, it's a good one.
For the first time. And I'm very upset and still trying to figure. Thanks, B-Bert. Love you.
She
No, it's okay. It's okay if he doesn't want me to share it. Maybe eventually someday I'll post the song, but like not say, I don't know.
She struggled through some stuff in Naruto with characters, and I felt bad.
Yeah. Do you watch I haven't watched the full thing because obviously, but have you watched any of One Piece?
Yeah, I like not much.
It's a lot. It's such a long show, but like there are some episodes where I just like cried and cried and cried. Also, that logo that keeps coming up for that gaming thing that is one of your advertisements, it's 100% based on Attack on Titan, like no doubt.
I think they made that way before Attack on Titan. They I think they made their business in like the early 2000s.
What?
Yeah.
It looks exact.
It's actually funny enough.
Even if the company is from before them, it's possible the logo was made afterwards.
I actually just talked to him about the logo this week. It is based off of the Transformers bad guys, Decepticons logo,
the Decepticons,
and like a knight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they were going for. Super cool though. Someone did that by hand.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It does remind me of the
Attack
on Titan in Attack on Titan.
Yeah. Now anime's cool. It's a fun
You have a whole podcast about it, so yeah, obviously you think it's cool.
I stepped down from that podcast now.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
We're still maybe gonna do it, but I'm not gonna be the host anymore. There's a lot of shows.
Fair. I was like, you've got too many shows. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like, how many are you doing now? That's what you get for being a variety podcaster.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
Too many shows.
Too many cooks.
Yep, too many cooks in the goddamn kitchen. No, I'm only doing regularly now this one, True Crime Junks, and my new Smooth Brain show.
What is the Smooth Brain one? I honestly haven't had a chance to watch it yet because you do it in the mornings and I'm usually not functional yet.
Yeah, it's more of a talk show variety, like more Twitch mainstream content. we spin a wheel for punishments and stuff like that. Like,
oh my gosh, of course you do.
yeah, it was rough. It gets rough
I'll
sometimes.
have to watch one of some of them.
Yeah,
Some of them.
It's a good time. With music though, I wanted to kind of ask you, like, you know, I seen that you've been posting on TikTok a little bit more with your music, which I definitely think you should.
Sorry, I don't know if you heard that. Fireworks have been happening here.
Oh.
But that just is why I made that face. It wasn't at you.
Do you like have like dream aspirations or like secret aspirations of like maybe doing like an album or something like that?
I have mixed feelings because like one of my really close friends, she is super talented and she's gone to school for like musical production and all this stuff. And also just like because I know how many people are in the world and how many talented people there are, I never expect anything to happen, like ever. And that's okay with me because like just seeing how it affects people who do end up in the music industry. Like another one of my good friends, it's just crazy what happens to some people, especially like a lot of women in the industry. It's a very, like, I really try not to isolate things by gender because I don't think that it should have to be important, but I do know that specifically in the music industry, at least, a lot of female artists experience pressure from like producers or people. They're like, well, if you do XYZ for me, I will make sure that you are successful. Like, and it's just really gross and really sad and upsetting. Like there are songs about it, like multiple songs. Like I don't know if you've ever heard of Icon for Hire, but they have a song and the lead singer is just singing about, like, there's a line where she like says, people ask like who I had to blow to get here, and I'm like,
well, I think
you're a Christian artist, what happened?
well, I think pop wise, one of the biggest ones that came out was Kesha and all the horrendous things that she had to go through. Yeah,
I cried when that song came out. I was at my internship in Illinois and I listened to it and I was crying the whole time. I did a cover of it because I've experienced that, not like in the music industry area, but like there's always assault. There's always assault, and sadly, I've experienced that, and it's traumatizing and it's upsetting. And not just that, but like even if you've never experienced like sexual assault or sexual trauma, like that song in general is just, the song Praying is really powerful in that it talks about forgiving someone who definitely doesn't deserve it. And a lot of people don't believe that people who do horrible things deserve forgiveness. And to a degree, I agree with that in some situations. But I think that we have forgiveness not just to free that person from the burden of what we hold against them, but I think it's more for us. I think it's more for us because if we don't forgive someone, that's something we carry with us forever. Whereas the person who did whatever they did to us may have completely moved on and forgotten what they did to us, but we're letting that one thing that happened to us affect our entire lives. And so that song was like, that was a really important song to me. And I don't have it on my YouTube channel, but or maybe I do, but I did a live stream while I was in college of covering that song. And that was before I had like told people that I had experienced like a sexual assault. I actually didn't tell my family until really recently, and I hope my dad's not watching because I haven't specifically told him to his face yet, but because I don't know how to tell him, because I don't know how he'll respond. And it's not because I don't want to tell him or I don't trust him. Like, I love my father to the ends of the earth. It's just a hard thing to tell people. Like, I didn't tell my mom until really recently, and it happened to me in like 2015. So it's been not a short amount of time. So like, I don't know. Sorry, but like we started talking about like music and like all the things that come with it, and that's one of the things that comes with it is just like this inherent risk that people are going to exploit you, and I don't love that side of it. And one thing that I do love is that more and more people in music have started self-producing, and like I love that. Like, be independent, be your own boss, because there are so many different producers that will just take advantage of you, and I've seen that happen to a lot of people. Or I've seen like someone, they're just I've never been in any kind of production where I would have to worry about my compositions being taken advantage of, but like my friend has been featured on albums and not credited, and it's insane to me. Like, the stuff that people go through is crazy.
Well, not only on the, the extreme darker side of like the abuse that goes on, but there's something that, when you get to the higher levels of the music world where there's so much money that people, it's past dog eat dog. It's 100%.
It's insane.
Let's shit on as many people as we can so we can make the most profit. And it's sad that, music, which is art, is such a is ran on that type of level. And I think it goes in any industry. Like, I'm sure people think that happens in like more mainstream stuff, but it's everywhere. It's prominent in every.
And like, it happens, like you said, it happens everywhere. Like, there's a chief in another state, like not in our area, that has a reputation for like flirting with certain people and like flirting with women he works with. So like, I had a coworker that had to turn down working with him because she was afraid that it would, like, he would somehow hold her hostage in a certain situation where we needed assistance. So she was like, I'm not that girl. That's not going to happen to me. But she's also like, because of that, kind of facing some retaliation, because there's no evidence of why she turned it down. There's just evidence that she turned it down. But also, like, they didn't want to help us unless we changed everything to fit their exact whim. And I was like, no. But aside from that, it's just people get taken advantage of in so many industries. Like, it's not just music, but
No, for sure. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it in places that I've worked, and it's sometimes it's blatant and sometimes it's not, and it's really, I don't know. It goes to show more and more that a lot of things are pretty fucked up.
yeah. And I'm grateful that people are feeling empowered to talk about it now.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't something that need to be talked about. I wish it was something that didn't happen or was rare. But honestly, like, the statistics that show how many people experience it, that's just the people who report it.
The number is much higher.
The number is insane. Like, I would argue that 80 to 90% of the people I know have experienced some sort of assault. It's sexual assault.
It's really sad too, because you know, as a man, you don't really hear a lot about it because obviously other men, unless you're in like really, you know, disgusting friend circles, you don't hear about it. But when you start getting close to, you know, you have friends that are women, they get
Female
comfortable,
creators or
you know,
anything.
they get
Yeah.
comfortable around you, and then you realize it's like everybody. Like
Yeah.
most of
I
my friends have
actually-
experienced shit, and I'm like, it's heartbreaking.
The person who actually was my abuser previous to that had experienced it. Like it happened to that person, and then that person did it to someone else.
Yeah.
And that in itself was something that like ruined me for a really long time, because I was constantly worried that I was not taking into account someone else's feelings. I was constantly worried like that I was making people uncomfortable. I was like, every time like I went on a date, I was like, is everything okay? Like, or am I doing something wrong?
Right.
But I don't know. I'm sorry we got to that. Like,
No, hey,
all
no.
that coming from like music, but like all that like was just circling around the fact that I just think there's a lot more pressure in music than I specifically, as a person that has depression and anxiety, could handle. Like, I love to post music and I love to sing, and I wish I was better at writing music. I have some songs that I've written. Like, this is television. Here you go. Surprise. It's gone forever. You'll never see it again. Just kidding. It's on my YouTube channel.
One stop
But-
shop.
Just kidding. Yeah. Like I've written more songs than just this, but this is the only one that I think I've posted like publicly because I don't want to embarrass my boyfriend. Someday. I don't know. Also, I'm embarrassed by the songs too, so that's part of why I haven't posted them. And some of them they don't feel finished to me, even if there's something that I've written. Like, I'm like, this sounds okay. But
yeah, I'm.
like you said, like you messaged me and you're like, when are you gonna post another thing on TikTok? And then I was like, I'll do it now.
I think TikTok's an interesting one just because, like, you know,
It's so short. Because it's short, I feel like it's easier in some ways to make content.
well, and I think too it allows for people who have talent like yourself be able to showcase it and have an opportunity for, like, if something did, like, you know, if it hit like a trending point, like, you can just do it yourself. You don't have to have like teams around you. You don't have to
Right.
make that decision. You can, but like at the same time, like, I'm sure there's still, you know, crazy amounts of pressure. Like
Yeah.
we talked
think
to, we mentioned Bella Porsche a little bit. Like, we both follow her, and
Let's go.
yeah, you know, she's pretty awesome. I
She is,
imagine.
but a lot of people have a negative view of her, and a lot of people don't think that she can actually sing, which I'm like, watch the rest of her videos, because she like posted that now she has that song,
Yeah.
like This Ain't Build a Bitch or whatever it's actually called. And everyone's like there's TikToks that are saying, how come TikTok stars can suddenly sing? I'm like, just watch the rest of her videos. She sang before.
Yeah.
But people don't want to invest that much time because she has a lot of videos.
Well, and I think too, though, like, I imagine that she's under an enormous amount of pressure because,
sure.
like, she has to be, you know, quote unquote, perfect for her videos, you know, and
She is, though.
yeah, and she makes good content, and you know,
if I could just be her, it'd be fine.
I just imagine that it's very difficult at that level, even just being like a TikTok person, because
Yeah, and unfortunately, like my roommate from college has become not like that level of TikTok famous, but they have a following, and they post a lot of stuff about like being punk and like non-binary and being a part of the LGBT QI plus community. And they've gotten a lot of hate from that by like just trolls and other people. And I there's just like there's always pressure, like anytime you get any traction on any platform, like I hate to compare this to PewDiePie, but like how many times has he just jacked up everything? I don't know how, like he's come back from so many scandals, honestly.
one PUBG video and he still survived, or whatever game
I
that was
don't
that he was
know,
playing.
man. Like that's gotta be like after multiple anti-Semitic jokes that he's made.
Yeah.
Like, but people come back from so many things. Like if you have enough of a following, you can come back from things, but like not without consequences.
Right. And it's, yeah. I don't know. We live in a weird time too with social media where it's very, each platform
Everything's
has
accessible.
Everything's accessible, but each platform almost has its own like identity for like what the trolling is going to be. Like Twitter.
Oh gosh.
Twitter's really bad.
Twitter is for arguing. I saw this TikTok where it was like an animation where one of the people in the animation was like an alien and the other person was like, okay, explain what every social media is for. And like the alien's like, Twitter is for arguing.
Yeah.
And it was like, Facebook is for old people. And it's just so funny. And it's like, I don't know, like when I was in college one year for Lent, which is usually people that are Orthodox or Catholic, or some people who are Protestant will take the time between Ash Wednesday and Easter to observe a time of fasting of something. So like one year I decided to fast from all social media, and I've like never fully gone back since then because my life was just so much better. Like I didn't have the pressure of, and I feel bad because people still send me like Facebook invites and then I miss everything and they're like, why didn't you come to this? I'm like, because I don't, like if you really want me to come to something, send me a real thing, like send me paper, because I can't make my life totally digital. I just can't do that.
I've said this multiple times that if I decide that like I'm not going to stream anymore, or I'm not going to do my podcast anymore, which I don't plan on doing, but
yeah,
if that
is obviously a huge passion of yours.
Yeah, if I ever decided to go that route, I would 100% get rid of pretty close to everything and then just follow like close people, and like, I'd probably just have like a personal Facebook account with like friends so they can message me if they don't have my number or something. Like I would get off Insta, Twitter, Snap, all those damn ones.
Like ever since, I honestly haven't posted a lot of things for a really long time, because like a lot of people post obsessively about their relationships. I really don't post a lot of anything ever. In general, like I'll post pictures of like our dog or something.
Yeah.
But I don't really like post it aggressively about our relationship. One, because I feel like social media is used as it's just a highlight reel. You just are posting things that are good about your life, and then it makes other people sad, which is like, that's psychology.
Yeah,
it is. And in addition to that, like if you're someone who wants to know about my life, if you're someone who's involved in my life, you will already know. You'll know that I'm in a relationship with someone.
Well, and like, I think it's actually kind of weird when people do post a lot about like their relationship specifically, because
it's an insecurity thing.
Yeah, and it's almost like now you have an audience that's involved in your relationship, which I think is very like,
and it's very stereotypically women who do it. Bo again.
The white women Instagram.
I mean, someone, let's scroll back. Someone made a comment about the white woman on Instagram. It's gone now though, because my internet disconnected. But one of them said something about that. But yeah, like
it's stereotypically women who post about their relationships a lot. And like I have a lot of friends who do that, especially once they get engaged. They just want everyone to know. And like that's fine. And also like if I were to be engaged, I would probably post something just so like people know, like I don't know, because I can't invite everyone. Like I can't.
Well,
Like,
I think
if I
that
were to have a wedding, I can't invite everyone, but I want people to know that I'm like, hey, this is the person that I care about, and I'm gonna get married to this person.
I think that that's a worthwhile life event that is worth posting. But like
Right.
when people are like,
Every minute
"Oh,
of their relationship."
Monday with the boo, Tuesday we're doing tacos. He pissed me off Wednesday. Fuck him. Thursday we were gonna break up. Friday we're back together.
Oh
Saturday.
gosh, Zuki, no. I've seen some of those
joint
like
accounts.
On Facebook. That's like I'd say that's a more like people that are probably in their 40s ish. I've seen those a lot. 40s up. I see joint accounts for relationships, like joint emails, joint Facebooks specifically. I've seen those, especially like working in healthcare. I email a lot of spouses.
I feel like that's like the kid, like their kids are like, you need to get a Facebook, and they're like, oh, we'll just make one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but mostly I feel like that's because
Someone
one of the
cheated.
people doesn't want to do it. But I saw that, yeah. I was like,
Maybe.
sure, okay, but I think it's more someone's lazy if there's a joint account. Someone doesn't want a Facebook.
I don't know. I actually, since he said that, I thought about it, and the one person I knew who has a joint account, that's why they have it.
No, no.
Big zoinks on that one.
Zoink. Oh gosh. Rough.
Well, we got to experience the wonderful thing of podcasting where we realized that we've been going for 2.5 hours.
Oops.
And
people are still watching though. Like, let's be real.
Zuki, love you. Bieber, love you. Daddy O-Com, love you.
You know who that is?
Papa Smurf, love you.
Daddy is the fucking paper cut.
I love you, Paper. I miss you.
No, not in a bad way, but in guilty.
It's easy to talk that
Thank
long.
you.
It really is.
It is. That's what I love about podcasting is like, just in general, you get 2.5 hours, like snapshot of someone's reality and their passions and their lives and their, what they're doing. And it didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like we just talked for 2.5 hours. I felt like we just hung out. It's my favorite thing about podcasting, but I think we should probably wrap it up for the sake of time.
Sleep.
Yeah, for sleep.
I get it.
Have the floor to tell people, if you want, where they can find you. I know that you have streamed on Twitch in the past. Might get back to it, maybe.
Eventually, maybe. I don't know. More fireworks. Okay. Yeah. So my Twitch is, if you want to follow me,
I'll post them in the chat too.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I've also commented, but hey, look, yeah, that's me. MusicObsessed is my Twitch.
YouTube.
I have a YouTube account, which like I'm not popular enough to have like my name, but whatever. I have my original content and some covers. I haven't posted anything on YouTube in a really long time. TikTok is whatever. I honestly don't post there very much. It's just whatever. It's for fun. If you find me, you do. If you don't, I don't care. Like, it's not my medium. Right. It's just for fun. But yeah, I mean, basically my YouTube and my Twitch. I should probably, maybe eventually I'll post some more. I've just been wanting to write some more, but it's been hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm sure no, I'm not going to say that because then people will know where I live. It's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you want to see my sing stuff, then you can. It's on YouTube. If you want to watch me play other games other than WoW,
then you can watch my Twitch.
Ye old Twitch.
I had some Twitch streams from WoW, but they've been deleted.
Oh.
So yeah. Because I had some from like doing Nax, and I think I had one from one time we did BWL as well.
Yeah. I remember when you had sent me over to go look at your Twitch the first time. I had went and watched you guys do KT on one of your streams, and that was fun to watch. Zuki says, see you in Azeroth, Nerio.
I'll try to come back. I'm sorry. I just need help. I need help. Help me level.
We'll help
I'm
you
a
level.
baby. I'm a baby.
The quest now that and on top of that, now that a lot of the Alliance have gotten out of the first zones, it's not as toxic. So questing isn't that bad.
That's good.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
It was bad I heard it was really bad the first couple weeks, but I think it's
like the queue times were terrible. You couldn't even get online.
Yeah. But thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your life with us and
I had a great time.
Giving us an insight. And I would be more than happy to have you back if you want. And I'm sure the audience would in the future. I'll be back. Everyone watching, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. If you're watching,
Fallen. I think most of them are from Fallen. So.
Yeah. If you guys are watching,
love you, Zuki. Love you, all the people.
All the people. If you guys are watching this on YouTube or Spotify or stuff like that, thank you so much for hanging out and listening to the podcast. And I will be back next week, Friday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thank you all for a wonderful night. Thank you, Summer, and I will talk to you guys later.